is going on, everyone? We are back with another movie review.
Journey. Search of Darkness.
Dear God, I'm depraved.
I'm Hellcat.
And together we are.
Hello, discombobulated right
I
now?
almost did the Marvel podcast intro.
Yeah, that's not me at all.
That's why I stopped. I was
Right.
like, oh, wait.
Looking at me. I'm not Ralph.
Yeah. So, we're back on our In Search of Darkness 80s horror movie grind.
Our journey. And Halloween 2.
And this is
1981 film. Up next.
Yeah. A little bit of fun facts that I do know about this. John Carpenter originally didn't want to do this.
Right.
He told what he felt was the story that he wanted to get out of The Shape.
Right. And he wanted to leave it at that.
And he wanted to leave it at that.
So, pretty much all of the films following that until we reach H2O are not ones that he either wanted to do or he did do. So, but this is Halloween 2. So again, Jamie Lee Curtis's boss. But she's back as Laurie, and it picks up exactly, actually you get 20 minutes of the last film to refresh your memory. And she is taken to the hospital while Dr. Loomis is left with the authority of Haddonfield trying to now find Michael, because they have now put a name to the shape. And it somehow comes out that Laurie Strode is his sister, which obviously we didn't get much on the shape in Halloween 1. So this is all sort of backstory that was made up and added to actually produce Halloween 2. And Michael proceeds to elude the authorities and Dr. Loomis and find Laurie Strode in the hospital, because apparently he's got some sort of GPS beacon on her before that was even possible. And basically make her hospital stay a living hell. I mean, we get some cute stuff like the EMT falls madly in love with Laurie because she's cute. Dr. Loomis is told that he's not allowed to follow Michael anymore because, the place he works for doesn't want to have anything to do with the devastation that Michael has already caused. We get a little backstory on Michael being the boogeyman, devil in his eyes, so on and so forth. Completely quiet, comatose patient until he decides it's time to wake up and wreak mayhem. So, and then Loomis and Laurie blow up the hospital basically in an attempt to kill Michael, and that is what we think has happened.
Yeah, there's a lot of... we'll get into that in a minute.
Yeah.
Plot-wise, there's a lot of... I might as well get into it now. Thinking Michael dies at the end of every movie.
Well, they have
which
to
is the normal horror movie thing.
But they have to resurrect him because even though Carpenter didn't want to do it, the franchise wanted to do it. The fans wanted him to do it. But
it's always retconned, and it's always
implausible.
Terribly retconned ending. Like the one I disliked the most, still to this day, was I don't remember which Halloween it was that ends with Michael getting his head cut off.
Oh, and then he's still...
And it turns out it's actually the EMT that was in the Michael costume because Michael switched outfits with him to escape.
Well, we're not even there yet. But yeah,
that's way down the line.
This has some plot holes and stuff. Again, the story suffers because Carpenter didn't want to do it.
Right.
The first Halloween was authentic because it was the story that Carpenter wanted to tell.
Okay, I do not agree with this. But Ebert is on quote for saying that this movie is a cheap imitation of the imitations of Halloween.
Right, okay.
I don't necessarily
he hated it.
I don't really like Ebert's opinions on much of anything movie-wise. Or Siskel, for that matter.
And here's the thing.
Rest in peace for them. But
I don't mind the story coming out that he's Michael Myers and that he killed his older sister and all of this stuff. Loomis treated him, and he ends up being related to Laurie. Like, I don't mind all that story.
Right.
What it suffers from is you can tell a lack of enthusiasm on the writer's part. So there's plot holes where you're like, wait, now you are supposed to suspend disbelief for basically any movie
Right.
story, but this one, there's just problems. There's problems.
There are some moments that we got to see, or that you get to see in this movie, which, again, this isn't the first time we've watched it. Now, it's the first time I've watched it in a very long time.
Right.
But it's not the first time we've seen it. I own the entire Halloween collection.
I've seen it plenty of times. Yeah.
That's not a thing. But some of the things that the 2019 Part 2, which wasn't even 2, it was 3 technically.
Technically,
but
it follows this, yeah.
But the newer trilogy that they just put out over the last couple of years, you actually see some of the story elements from 2 brought into that one.
Right.
The mob mentality situation where everybody in the town's going around
Right.
trying to find. Now, thank God
That didn't happen here.
they didn't have, the stupid evil dies tonight
Lord.
quote throughout the entire movie.
I mean, the entire movie.
As a matter of fact, I'm thankful they didn't even say it once.
Yeah, I don't think I want to hear that for a long time. However,
Story-wise, though, 100%, this is my favorite Part 2 in any of the Halloween run.
yeah, if there's a part
runs.
2, I want to see this one.
I like this more than Halloween 2018. I like this
Yes.
more
Then
than...
Halloween Kills, I think, is the second one.
well, no, Halloween 2018 is the second one, because it takes
Okay.
place after Halloween.
Okay. I like it more than Rob Zombie.
I like it more than Rob Zombie's Halloween 2.
Right.
So yeah.
I love Jamie Lee Curtis, and I like the continuity in the actors in this. Again, Carpenter did write it, so while it suffers from a lack of enthusiasm, it does not suffer from a lack of it being the same creator in terms of characters.
It definitely has one of my... we'll get to that in the GFX. Alright. So next up is the cast. Now, before we get into the cast, because she jumped right into everything.
Right.
The Rotten Tomatoes score for this, on 47 reviews, critics have it at a 32%. 50,000 plus ratings for audience score, 63%.
Okay.
So the audience definitely
Appreciates it more.
Now, I will say, Halloween is a series I didn't even start to appreciate until after Rob Zombie did his version.
Oh, okay.
I was not a fan of Michael. He's still my least favorite of the 4 major killers.
Okay.
And by 4 major killers, I'm talking about the classics in terms of Freddy, Michael, Jason, Leatherface.
Okay.
I'm leaving Ghostface out of that. Fuck you guys.
Little bias over there.
Well,
over there.
to be fair, though, Ghostface has like 12 different people playing him.
He's also brand new in
Right.
terms of
Compared to everybody.
Yeah.
So yeah, Mike is overall my least favorite. I've grown more appreciation for the series as a whole as I've gotten older.
Right.
I still don't quite get into it as much. You'll find out in a few reviews from now. We found out that Halloween 3, I think, is also on this initial list of things we're going through.
Which excites us.
Which excites me. That's actually my favorite Halloween movie. So
Right.
I'm excited for that. But yeah. That was the tomato meter, so let me jump back over here. Jamie Lee Curtis is Laurie Strode. Nicole Drucker plays a young Laurie Strode. Donald Pleasance is Dr. Loomis. Charles Cyphers as Sheriff Lee Brackett. Lance Guest as Jimmy. Pamela Susan Shoop as Nurse Karen Bailey. Hunter Von Leer as Deputy Gary Hunt. Honestly, Anna Alicia.
Yeah, it's Dick
was the
Warlock
nurse.
as Michael Myers or the Shape.
Right. Dick Warlock is Michael Myers in the Shape throughout most of this movie. Adam Gunn and Nick Castle are more of the younger. It's basically the archive footage from the first movie that's used. They're the ones that are Michael Myers in that. And honestly, going through this, I think that's all of the major roles
Players,
that need to be listed. Annie died in this one. Okay, I think she died in the last one.
She died in the last one. Yeah.
Um.
So again, it's
That's yeah.
Yeah.
So, again, another thing that this movie kind of did suffer from was not having Nick Castle play the Shape.
The Shape.
And the only reason I say that, I am not one of those people that from movie to movie, especially if it's a masked killer,
They need to be.
they need to be the same person. But at least if it's supposed to take place in the same night,
It would be nice.
probably should.
It would be nice. Yeah.
Because you can retcon and explain away differences in movements and stuff like that.
Somewhat.
From
Depending on how different it is.
if it's a full year, right?
Right.
As opposed to a half an hour to
But
3 hours later.
Well, especially when you start the movie with 20 minutes of the previous movie.
Right.
Yeah.
I
I suppose you could say that he fell out a second story and got shot multiple times and beat to crap, and so that could cause. But yes, it would have been nice. Yeah.
Right. Obviously, one of my other minor complaints in this one is the score and the changes they made to the score from the original, which obviously it's a different movie, so
Right.
I get it. But the original Michael Myers theme was definitely more heavily piano based.
It was.
Whereas in this movie, it's way more synthesized. And I'm not a fan of the synth sound for that.
I
specific.
wouldn't have minded, again, if it wasn't supposed to be the exact same night, picking up exactly where we left off.
Right.
Yeah. It's a continuity thing. Yeah.
That's the cast. Special effects. Pretty well done.
Yeah. I mean, I don't really have any complaints about it. I think it's funny that they did stuff like, there's just flaws in terms of, so Loomis turns on ether and the oxygen in order to blow the hospital up.
Right.
But he is standing right next to the ether jet. And in no way does he pass out or act like he's loopy
Right.
But there's enough in the air to blow up the hospital. So, I mean, like, there's things like that. But blood-wise and everything, they did a pretty good job.
This one definitely has one of my favorite kills in the classic Halloween
Right.
run, and it's definitely the one where the nurse gets stabbed in the back and then picked up off the floor with just a scalpel.
That's okay. Because I was gonna say my personal favorite is he does this in Halloween, or no, that's Jason. So it's close, but it's the nurse that gets boiled alive, where he just shoves her head into the boiling tub of water, and it reminds me of Jason Goes to Space with the nitrogen
Jason
freezing. Yeah. So again, creative. I enjoyed it, but there's stuff like that. Like, were nurses ever that stupid? Like, she takes a break from her shift to go play footsie in the hot tub with her lover, and they both get gone. But like, there's stuff like that. Like, why was the hospital almost abandoned other than this nurse that just decides to take off?
I don't know. I can't remember off the top of my head if it happens anymore throughout the rest of the series. But this is 2 Halloween movies in a row, if you're talking about the original and then part 2. Where there's always a Michael being mistaken as the lover in the situation. Because in the first one, he's wearing the sheet as he walks in on the girl.
Right, and then in this one, she thinks that it's the guy that just went to adjust the heat on the hot tub, and I'm like...
And he's like got his hand on
like,
her.
pasty girl.
And she's just like...
She's like in a towel, like, oh, this is nice. And then he's like, see ya. So it did have some creative kills. I'll give it that. It doesn't suffer from some of Carpenter's, brilliant moments for that.
Right. I guess that means it's time for us to judge it.
I mean, that's what we do.
It is your turn.
We're judgy. We're very judgy.
So, what do you give Halloween to, baby?
I'll give this a 3 nurses' hats out of 5.
3 nurses' hats out of 5.
Yeah.
All right. So, as I've said, I am not the biggest of Halloween fans. My actual favorite Halloween movie all time is the first Rob Zombie remake.
I think that's bloody good too.
In terms of the original run, 3 is definitely my favorite.
Season of the Witch.
My complaint with Halloween as a series, especially more so now as an adult, even more than when I was a kid, is one, silent killers are just kind of to me. I'm such a huge fan of Freddy.
Right.
And that's what I'm used to. People talking shit as they're doing what they're doing. But over and above all is the continuity is not there throughout the majority of this entire series.
Yeah, franchise-wise, yeah.
It goes. You get like 1 and 2, and then 3 happens. I mean, and then everything branches. It is
totally a choose your own ending franchise.
Right.
Like, yeah, you can decide which way you want to go.
You've got the main line that does actually branch off because after 1, you've got either Halloween 2 or Halloween 2018, and then 2018 goes its route, and then Halloween 2 goes, and then it branches to different, and it's just. Right. And then you've got like the outer sphere up here, you've got Rob Zombie's iteration.
Yeah. So it is. It's hard.
And they eventually start trying to mix in cult stuff and just weird shit. I don't know. It's wild.
Which I like watching, but yeah.
They're fun.
Yeah.
But it's hard for me to really enjoy the series.
To get into Michael and everything.
If there's not a...
Yeah. Now, we'll talk more about that in Season of the Witch, because there are certain things that we want to address when we get there. But, yeah. So, what do you give it?
But, over and above all, I don't think it's terrible. But I am going to be a little more harsh on it in terms of... Do I think it is the worst movie in the series? Hell no.
No.
Hell no. It's actually a pretty decent movie.
Yeah, it's pretty solid.
I'm giving it a 2.5 Michael Myers masks.
Okay. Yeah. That makes sense.
2.5.
Makes sense. Okay. Well, there you have it. I mean, I think the 3 is definitely, for me, Jamie Lee Curtis.
Jamie's wig is so terrible in that movie.
It really is. But on the other hand, just like... the continuity of having her, it's the same night, like, I don't know.
Right.
I don't know.
But alright, guys, that is going to do it.
For this one.
Join us next time as we review Ghost Story.
Alright.
We love you guys. We'll see you then. Bye.